Hi, Daddy. Ryan McCartan here. Ryan McCartan? Why did I do that so formal? Let's just start over. Hi, Daddy. My name is Ryan. Solo video today. This is the first episode of what I'm calling the McCartan Mailbag, where you send in your questions and I answer them. It's a Q&A, but I want to do more themed Q&As, and this one I'm really excited about. This is a Q&A specifically about the industry, the entertainment industry. I always get so many questions about this. What I'm really proud of is that I feel like I do a good job at sort of like taking the veil off of these seemingly mysterious aspects of the entertainment industry, because I know we have a lot of aspiring entertainers in our audience. And what I'm not proud of is the fact that I participate in an industry that is very secretive, very complicated, and is also pretty gatekeepery too. So any way that I can participate in demystifying this industry, I always want to do that as much as I can. As you know, we talk about accessibility on this channel all of the time. Sometimes when we're talking about accessibility, we're talking about economic accessibility for people to be able to experience the arts in communities that are maybe disenfranchising or are not very supportive of the arts. That's a big part of accessibility, but I think a big part of accessibility too is just having information for people who maybe want to participate in this industry someday, or just for people who are curious. So I've curated a lot of your questions that you submitted on Instagram recently. Thank you for those questions, by the way. And I'm just going to kind of dive into them. I'm going to go pretty fast so that I can fit a lot in, but hopefully this sheds some light on this business for you guys. And for those of you who are aspiring entertainers, maybe you can use and leverage some of this advice to further your future careers. So we're going to get started with a fun and really easy one. Are you queer or part of the LGBTQ plus community? Yes! Okay, now that we got that out of the way, I got two questions that are kind of similar. What's the toxic to healthy workplace ratio? And are people in this industry as fake as people say? Okay, so I have good news and bad news. This is an incredibly toxic industry, and people in the industry are definitely very fake for the most part. The good news is not everyone is like that. Because so many people are fake, it's really easy to find who the good people are. And if you aren't fake, and if you put an emphasis on working through kindness, joy, and humility, you will attract so many more people to you, because it's so rare to meet someone who's genuinely nice and good, non-toxic, and humble in this industry. Let me tell you why I think that is, though, because I don't think that this industry attracts bad people. I think this industry creates bad people. Here's what I mean. The happiest people that I know who are in the entertainment industry, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, are people who are like me. People who have had a good amount of success, who can keep their lights on by entertaining, but can also still go to the grocery store for the most part without getting recognized or harassed. The sort of middle class of entertainers, if you will, I think are the happiest, because they have enough success to subsidize their living, but they aren't so successful that they have to surrender things like privacy, sanity, and humanity. The reason that I say that this industry, I think, creates toxic people is because then we have people on either side of that middle that I just established. On one side, you have people who are so embittered by an industry that is unbelievably competitive, so thankless, and extremely, extremely difficult. It's hard on your body, it's hard on your mind, it's hard on your soul, it's hard on your pocketbook. It is really, really hard to make it in this industry, and even if you do, you have to claw through so much rejection to even get a chance. I don't say that to discourage anyone from being in the entertainment industry. I have been acting for 22 years. I know that's crazy because I'm so young, but I've been acting since I was extraordinarily young, and I've been acting professionally, and I've been in professional situations in the entertainment industry in Minnesota, in Chicago, in New York, in Germany, in Italy, in Los Angeles, in Florida, everywhere. I know this industry inside out. I know the ugly parts of it, but I know the beautiful parts of it too. So I don't want to discourage anyone from doing this if they want to do it. I'm just trying to be honest with you that at the very beginning or at the very bottom, it's incredibly difficult. And I think that creates a bitter attitude within people because they either didn't realize or didn't recognize how hard it was going to be. And then on the other side of that spectrum, you have people who have made it so much that either they are so uncomfortable or suffocated by the pressure of being famous and successful, or it goes straight to their head. Alison Stoner is doing some amazing work about the toddler to train wreck pipeline, about young actors achieving abnormal amounts of very quick Hollywood success and it all going to their head. I saw a video of Alison's recently that I really liked. Alison talks about being at a restaurant and getting recognized at a restaurant, and then suddenly realizing that the bill is half paid for, and then going to another restaurant and realizing that now that bill is half paid for, and suddenly people are always smiling at you and always telling you that you're doing a good job. When you get successful enough and you're surrounded by sycophants and people who just want something from you, people who are always going to say yes and never going to say no, that's going to go to your head, and it's going to create within you an attitude of narcissism. Those people then become very toxic. They didn't start out that way. They started out like the people at the beginning of the spectrum who had a dream and worked really hard. Then they got abnormally successful and abnormally famous, and it went to their head. So there are a lot of toxic people in the industry. The great news is if you are kind, humble, and are there to do the work, you will be rewarded because game recognizes game. The narcissists are going to find each other, and the bitter people are going to find each other. But guess what? The nice people find each other too. What were the Jimmy Awards like? I'm not going to dive into this too much. I will just say it was one of the craziest experiences of my life, and like I don't know if even to this day I've like processed what that whole thing was like, and I still can't believe that I won. But I also participated in the Jimmy Awards back in 2011. The Jimmy Awards are a whole new thing now. When I do some solo videos here on this channel, I've started this like The Truth About series where I've done like the truth about the writer's strike, the truth about celebrity couples and things like that. I was thinking about maybe doing the truth about the Jimmy Awards. If you guys want to see me dive more into this topic, let us know in the comments and I'll make a video like that. Have you ever wanted to just quit acting? Yeah, all the time. As I highlighted earlier in this video, like the entertainment industry is really, really hard, and I want to quit all the time. There are so many times where I fantasize about just like going to college, getting a degree, having a job that doesn't cost my voice and my body and my emotions and my self-worth so much, and just kind of having like a normal life. But ultimately, singing and acting is like kind of the only thing that I'm good at, and the only thing that I believe that with enough time and effort I can be truly exceptional at. And it brings me a lot of joy. It hurts me a lot when it isn't going well, but it brings me so much joy when it is going well that even though sometimes I want to quit, I've been doing this for 22 years and I never have. So you do the math. When was the moment when you knew you had made it? I thought this question was so funny because the moment I knew I had made it was when I got on Disney Channel. And then like 3 months after being on Disney Channel, I was homeless and living in my car because I couldn't afford an apartment in Los Angeles. And eventually a friend was nice enough to let me live with her for free for 6 months until I got my life together. So even when I was on the Disney Channel, when my likeness was in 90 million homes, and when I was making like a SAG salary, when I was arguably the most famous I've ever been, I had like no money, I couldn't afford health insurance, I couldn't afford rent, I was living out of my car. Then Heathers happened, and I thought for sure I'd make it from Heathers, and then Heathers ended up not being at all what I thought it was going to be. Then Rocky Horror Picture Show happened, and I was like, oh, the lead of a major network televised event, this is going to skyrocket me. And it didn't. I'm not saying that it didn't go well, and actually there were connections that I made in Heathers who had connections with the people who cast me in Frozen on Broadway. So like work begets work, and different opportunities lead to different opportunities. But there have been so many times where I thought like, oh my God, I've made it now, and I haven't. I still struggle sometimes to make ends meet. I still look at my bank account sometimes and go, oh crap, I need a job. And I still go long periods of time without working, even though I'm auditioning constantly and even though I get great feedback about my work. Here's the deal, you guys. You can do really, really, really well for yourself in this industry, and you still haven't made it. In my opinion, making it is when you truly never have to worry about a job again. When your phone is ringing off the hook. We want to offer him the role in this. We want to offer her the role in that. Getting to that level where people are calling you, you aren't calling them, that's like the top 1% of the top 1% of people who do this. I know that a lot of people view my career as being someone who's really successful, and I do think that I've been pretty successful, but I have in no way made it. And just to humble myself and make sure that people like understand my perspective and where I'm coming from, whenever I get any job, I still consider myself so grateful. I am still so thankful for the opportunity to work because I have not made it, and it is still a struggle sometimes. So if you're aspiring to do this, you can get to Ryan McCartan status and you still have way more distance to cover to get to the top of the mountain than distance you have covered since you started climbing. That inspires me personally, and I'm excited about all that distance I still have to cover, but I don't want anyone to get the sense from me that I feel like I've made it, because when you're in my position, you haven't made it. You still have a long way to go, and that's just the reality of the situation. television. You can have been on Broadway. You can have been on Disney Channel. You can have been the lead in a major network thing or been the lead of a movie. You can make good money. But at the end of the day, when a job is over, if you don't have another job lined up, your palms are sweaty. They're just as sweaty as they were at the beginning when you started, when you were like, how am I going to get a job? It's always an uphill battle. And that's just the tea, Dad. Okay, I've gotten a lot of questions like this. How much control do you have over your first gigs? What are the easiest acting jobs to get when you're starting out? How hard is it to get into the industry? Best theater advice for someone who keeps getting rejected? How do you get into acting for film? How does one get into Broadway performing? As you can see, this sort of area of like, how do I start or how do I get my foot in the door? This is a very common question that I hear all the time. I want to address it in a few parts. First of all, this idea of like, how do I get into film acting? Or how do I get into Broadway? How do I make it into a movie? How do I get on Disney Channel? Those kinds of questions that I get all the time. You don't. There is no path that I can lay out to you that will get you on Disney Channel or get you on Broadway or get you into a major studio movie, because the industry isn't black and white like that. I didn't start acting so that I could be on Broadway or so that I can be on Disney Channel. I had goals to be on Broadway someday or to be on Disney Channel someday, but I started acting because I wanted to act. How much control do you have over your first gigs? What are the good gigs to start with? I think that we live in a culture that defines success in an unrealistic way. And I also think that we live in a society that delivers pictures of success cut down into a photo dump or into a micro vlog on TikTok that makes it look like it's you take this step, you take this step, you take this step, and then you're on Broadway. And it doesn't work like that. Work begets work, opportunity begets opportunity, and connection begets connection. Don't think about it in terms of like perfect opportunities and snapshots of success. Think about it as momentum. If you are doing it, you have a better chance of doing it. If you aren't doing it, you have a worse chance of doing it. It's truly that simple. My career started on small stages in Minneapolis. I auditioned for a Subway commercial and got it. The casting director who cast me in that Subway commercial, by the way, this wasn't like a big national spot. It was a local spot. I made like no money. But that casting director really took a shining to me. We became friends. When I dropped out of college, I asked her if she had any connections in Los Angeles. She did. She introduced me to a manager. That manager helped me go out on like 150 appointments. I booked 0 of them, but within those appointments, I met casting directors. Some casting directors really liked me, some really hated me. We got a call from a casting director saying, this person has no business being an actor, and please never send him to us again. And on the same day that we got that call, we got a call from another casting director saying, we would love your client to come in and audition for this new show called Liv and Maddie on Disney Channel. All of this is to say, it is not a direct line from small stages in Minneapolis to Disney Channel, or small stages in Minneapolis to Broadway. It's not a direct line. It's a lot of zigs and a lot of zags. But I have been doing it for 22 years. Tiny opportunities that paid me nothing, big opportunities that paid me a lot. It wasn't important to me. If it was an opportunity to work on my craft, I took it. I asked a lot of questions. I wasn't shy about asking for help, and I networked. And when I say network, I don't mean be slimy, be smarmy, try to suck people dry. I mean talk to them like they're humans and share your ambitions with them and see if there's a natural fit of who in this world can help you get to the next rung of the ladder. Don't start with the end in mind. Start with your heart aligned. Bars. If your heart wants to be an actor, then act. But if you start saying, I have to be on Broadway, and all you're focused on is Broadway, you'll never get there. It's the exact same as going to the gym. If you want a perfect body tomorrow, you're not going to be enticed to go to the gym today because you know it's not possible. But if you want to be healthier and you're willing to commit to going to the gym twice a week for a year, you will inevitably feel better and look better in a year than you do today. So find an opportunity, any opportunity, and just start. Don't think so much about the grand scheme of things. David asks, what's the most unexpected thing about Broadway? Honestly, I would say the most unexpected thing about Broadway is like how small and dirty it is. And like, I know that's a weird thing to say, and I'm so grateful to have been on Broadway, and I plan on being on Broadway so many more times in this life. But I just remember growing up and thinking about Broadway as like these big rehearsal spaces and these grand venues and all of these resources and the whole world being available to you. And the fact of the matter is, like, most Broadway houses don't even have rehearsal space in them. They have to like rent rehearsal studios 20 blocks north. And so you're like rehearsing in a studio that has been rented out, and then you sort of move it to the stage, and the stage is epic, but because New York is so condensed, having this giant stage means that that stage is going to take up most of the building. So the dressing rooms are very small. A lot of these buildings are very old. It's not like they ever close for renovation because anytime a show closes, another show moves in there. So like a lot of these places are like dirty and dusty and moldy and small. And like, I know that kind of sounds crazy to even say, but that was the most unexpected thing about Broadway. The idea of being on Broadway feels so grand. The pay feels so good. The stability and the level of success feels so honorable. But when you have this dream in your mind about something being like so epic and so grandiose, and then you get there and you're like, oh my God, my dressing room is like a closet. Wait, I can't go to the 5th floor because there's mold in the what now? It's just kind of an unexpected reality of working in the highest level of theater imaginable. And so that was the biggest thing that was shocking to me when I first started performing in New York. As I said, I just kind of wanted to do a rapid fire with these. You guys asked me so many questions. I obviously didn't have a chance to get to all of them, but I tried to pick questions that thematically matched with most of what I was getting. Most of what I was getting was, what are things that surprised you? What are experiences that you've had? What's the culture like? And how do I get started? And so hopefully the questions that I picked gave you kind of like thematically big picture answers to some of these questions. If you want me to do another mailbag where you ask me specific questions about a specific topic and I dive in, whether it's more questions like this or any other subject, please leave your suggestions in the comments below. As always, be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one, Daddy. Bye!